This module presents GIMP. GIMP is like the free alternative to Photoshop. We use this software in order to further editing our JPEG images that we remember we created in the temporary folder, temp over here, and in order to create the technical photography documentation file. Okay, so basically here in temp on the desktop, actually here on this path, we have all these images. We need to load them into GIMP. We can do just a dragging and dropping. So this is the visible image, and we can drag all the other images. So we have the UVR, the UVF, the raking image, the IRF, and then we have also the IR image. Okay, so you see basically now the images have been loaded into these layers. So what we want to do now is basically using this software we can analyze the image. So for example, we can compare visible and IR, then we can zoom on the image. And so basically we can see if we notice something of interest. So basically the idea is we can make one layer visible or the other, and we can do this movement across the image in search, for example, of under drawing. So we go here and we see interesting lines across the object. Okay, so this is the navigation tool we have on the bottom over here. Let's see something interesting here on the top. Okay. Now at this point what we see is that the infrared image and the visible image, they don't overlap. So when we took this recording, these images, we took care not to move the camera or the painting. But as we see here, anyway, they don't overlap. This is because when we take a picture in the visible and then into the infrared, the image change the dimension. In this case, the infrared becomes larger, and this is because we need to refocus. When you focus, you change a little bit the dimension of the image. Okay, so basically in order to make this overlapping better, we need to resize the infrared. So in GIMP we can do the resizing using this unified transform tool over here. So we click over on the image again using this tool, and now you see it's important to have this image opacity to 50%. Basically we see that the infrared is on top of the visible but semi-transparent, so it's easy to do the transformation and to resize the images. So we need to further zoom like this one. You see, from here now it's pretty simple to figure out how to drag the image in order to make them overlapping. So we can start from the top. You see over here the image. In this case, it's important you check IR, this layer, to drag it. We wanna make the IR a little bit smaller. So there we are. The IR is selected, is the one we are going to modify. I can drag this one and the image goes down. There it is. Okay, I can do the same thing on the right. And on the bottom. So as you see here, we have a problem. When I go all the way to the right with this magnification, I don't see any point to overlap. So it's a good idea before actually starting this process to so here we just close it, to go back to all the image and to crop the area where there is no details. So we use this cropping tool over here. So we go like this. Okay, and we want to keep just the area where there is the real information. Okay, so the image has been cropped, and now we go back to the transformation tool. So there it is. We can start from the top. We can magnify as much as we need. Okay, let's have this tool. So we go here. So it's important we select this layer, the IR, because it's the IR we want to edit over the visible. So we can go here and drag down this one. Okay, then we go on the other side. Okay, there it is. We can do this one. Okay, let's find the best position. Okay, then we go back over here. We drag this one like this. Okay, pretty nice. Then we move to the other side. This one seems already okay. This one seems already nice. We go back to the top again, see if we can do a little bit better. We can even zoom in a little bit more to have more detail. Okay, there it is. We can even drag okay, so okay, you see, basically the image is pretty nice. Let's do transform. So this modification has been applied, and now we can switch on and off. So it's much better than before. You see, it's we see much better overlapping. So we can make our observation directly on the painting, point by point. So basically we see which pigments become transparent, which remain opaque, if there is any underdrawing in the object. Okay, at this point what we do, I click Ctrl Shift J to see all the image together. And as we see now, we have a little bit of a problem in terms of that on the top, you see here, in particular, the visible is bigger than the infrared, no? Because we resize the infrared. So we need to avoid this situation. So I click again the crop tool. Okay, first I magnify, actually, so I go here on the top. Okay, so I see exactly, so this is the infrared layer, the lines. So I use this cropping tool, and I crop inside, a little bit inside the infrared, so I'm sure that I'm getting both the layers. Okay, there we are. Pretty good. We go here, I click enter, and the cropping is done. So you see now, okay, we have visible and IR, and they are decently overlapping. So the next step, actually, we could do a finer, we could do, I mean, if it's needed, we can go back and doing further alignment, registration, or cropping. Let's see, this one is fine for our work. Now, what I show is how to make the infrared false color image. So for this infrared false color, first of all, we want to save this file on GIMP that we just created. So we go in the file, save as. You see this file has extension XCF. So this is specifically of GIMP. So generally I call it TP to indicate that is a technical photography file, so it has all this overlapping of layers. and I put the name of the object, so in this case let's call it just icon, and I do save. I want to save it. Okay, we can put into here data, so where we have the temp and the images. So images is the raw file, temp are the exports in JPEG. Okay, we do save over here, and there it is, it's done, pretty good. At this point, so the step we need to do is I need to export the visible image as a JPEG. So I select this, I go in, I deselect the IR, so the IR is not visible, just the visible. So I go in File, I go in Export As. So see the difference between Save As and Export As. If you do save, you are saving the GIMP file, which is on a specific extension. So it's this creature with all the layers in it. If we do export image, we are going to create a flat image, just an image, which could be JPEG, PNG, or whatever. So here we put the extension, so JPG, we want a JPEG, and we call it just this. Generally, I put this one on the desktop. There it is, so just a desktop, because it's just a momentary file. Then we are going to delete it. And we do export. Quality 100%, okay, 100%, that's it. So here we have the JPEG. Now the second step is to export also the infrared image. So this is the infrared, this image. Remember, over here also sometimes we want to change the opacity. You see, we play with opacity like this. Sometimes we forget to go back to 100%. So be sure that the opacity over here is 100%. Okay, let's export also the infrared file, export as, we put IR as a JPEG export. Okay, a few seconds. Okay, there it is, JPEG export. Okay, so we exported the vis and the IR. At this point, let's close this project, our TP file, just to make it more clear. We can discard the changes because we already have saved it with the final changes. So first operation, we load the visible over here, so we just do drag and drop. There it is, beautiful. We go in colors, components, decompose. So from here, be sure that you selected decompose to layers, color model RGB, and you click OK. So now GIMP, basically, you see on the right, we have the different channels, the red, the green, and the blue. Actually, the blue is very interesting. Okay, so we have all these layers over here. At this point, we go into the IR and we drag the IR layer into this tab that we have here. So drag and drop. You see now we have the IR layer over here. So basically, eventually we have an image that is made of 4 layers. But we want this, eventually want to make this infrared false color. So the operation, we go in colors, we go in components, and we go in compose. From here, basically, it's like we have the output and the input. This is the output of a final RGB image, and these are the input. So for the standard infrared false color photo, this is the order. So the blue output channel should be made by the green. So here basically we can choose all the layers. We want to have the green to be rendered as blue. Then we want to have here the red to be rendered as the green. And then here we have the infrared to be rendered as the red. Then we click OK. and there it is. So this is our infrared false color image. Could be a little bit more alignment, but overall we see basically the idea is we can check out if there are retouches, changes. So for example, you see this area over here looks like has a retouch, is a retouched area, show up some more evidently because in the false color this original red over here, actually we can see in the final image as a different false color. Once we created this image, we can just export as usual, export as, we can put it momentarily on the desktop, so I call it IR false color, goes on the desktop, IR false color on the desktop, export, save opacity 100%, we can close all this stuff, all these tabs over here. Okay, let's close this card, this one, close this one. Okay, so what we do eventually is we go back in TP icon. So this is the GIMP file we created before. I load it. So here we have all the layers, and I want to have also the infrared false color. So drag and drop the infrared false color over here, and there it is. So now I can compare visible and infrared false color. So for example, here again we magnify in this area. So let's use the magnifying tool. Okay, there it is. So I go in visible and infrared. So we see in infrared false color this area has a different false color than the rest of it, indicating an area that has been retouched. Okay, and then basically the idea is sometimes this technique can be used to preliminary identify the pigments, even if we always suggest to complete it with a real and final chemical analytical analysis. Okay, so the goal was to have a look at these materials, these infrared false color. So this is it. I click Control Shift J to see all the image together, and now basically the idea is we can export all these layers as a JPEG will be our final images. So we can go in File, Export as, Export Layers, this one, Export Layers, and it's starting to export this final image. So for example, we can create a new folder called Final, and in Final we want to export these layers as a separate JPEG image. So instead of a PNG, we put a JPG, export, quality 100%, let's go. There it is, final. So you see now we are creating immediately all these layers, so we can use them for our presentation or something else. The power of having this technical photography documentation file is that it's very useful to make our comparison and studies. Now, for example, this is let's say the raking light photo we are seeing. So you see in the raking light we can see basically areas that where there are the losses on the object. You see they becomes much more clear. You see it's much more contrasted. So then to make observation with a different material becomes more easy. So for example, let's see something here, exploring now for the first time this object. Let's see. Well, let's go back to the ones we saw before. So this area where we notice, you see, even in the infrared false color, we already see the difference on this area that has been retouched over here. Let's also look at it in the UVF. See, also an area recently retouched because it's darker, so its fluorescence it's less. So the idea is, for example, here we want to document this issue. So what we do is for example, we can use the selection tool, this one, rectangular. So this is the area of interest. And we want to compare, for example, the visible and the infrared false color. So we go here, this, select this, and we do Control C. So we copy just this area. And we can paste in whatever software we want. So for example, let's make here on the desktop, we do, let's see, PowerPoint, but let's do a text document. Okay, there it is. We created just a text document to make our report. So we go here and we click Control V and we paste this image. So let's make it smaller on the left. Then when we go back here, for example, we want to compare, we said, the visible with the infrared false color. So we select infrared false color. We not necessarily need to make it visible, just select the layer you want to copy. So we go here, we do Control C to copy. Then we go here and we do Control V. So you see it was copied just the infrared false color image. So we can go here and we put our image and we can do a nice comparison of the observation we noticed very quickly and very precise, space by space. So it's like we want to use GIMP to make this spatial comparison, but specifically more easy to zoom in, zoom out, and observing the same area. Okay, so basically this is all for using GIMP. So we saw how to load the layers, how to make the infrared false color, how to play with layers. Okay, so this is it. Thank you so much for listening.